near Embankment Station, but I wanted to start down here. But this is the York Watergate. It's quite an interesting place. It's been here since the 1600s. What happened in England was the River Thames got a bit ugly, and a man called Joseph Bazalgette decided to beautify the river and also redesign the sewer system. So in here, it closes in the evenings, of course, are the Victoria Embankment Gardens. And the blue you see right in the distance, the light, is the light of the Royal Festival Hall and the South Bank Centre on the south side of the river. Just up here, you might see the London Eye, British Airways London Eye, as it used to be known. And the gardens in here were built in the 1870s. I do apologise that you can see some of the railings, but it's the only way I can get us to get a view of it. I tell you, it looks a lot lighter on the screen than it does in real life. But this York Watergate was here in the 1600s, and it was built by a man called George Villiers, who had a house on this site. George Villiers was the Duke of Buckingham, and this was an exit from his house onto the river. So if you remember, I just said to the left there, we've got the gardens. It's about 80 metres to the river. And this is what Joseph Bazalgette did. He beautified the river. He reclaimed some of the river and built nice new houses along it and a sewer system, which was the main reason for it. So he cleaned up London. This Watergate has been restored over the years, but it's been here since 1626. Now, this is one of those roads, Buckingham Street, where if you watch things like Mr. Selfridge, anything set in the late 1800s, early 1900s, they film here. Because if you can use a bit of CGI to get rid of 20-mile-an-hour speed limit signs, and you can tape down some of the double yellow lines underneath us and get rid of that big building in front, it can look quite Victorian. I'll turn around, sorry it's so fast, but you can get a good sense of what it would have been like in the 1800s. But we're going to travel to an area named Villiers Street. So the man that designed this entire area was called George Villiers. He was the Duke of Buckingham, and he sold the land off years later, but he demanded when he sold it that he wanted his name to be remembered all around. So we've got a George Street, we've got a Villiers Street, we've got a Duke Street, we've got a Buckingham Street, and guess what? There's an of alley. So he even wanted the bit in the middle of Duke of Buckingham to be remembered. It's quite a cool little road. And it leads down to Embankment Station at the end. Embankment Station was built in the 1800s as well. And there was a man called Oswald Lawrence, and he was the man that recorded all of the Mind the Gap announcements. They've changed now. There are many people that do them. But the Northern Line platform on Embankment is one of the only places that his voice is still heard, because his wife wanted to hear it one last time and they've decided to leave his voice there forever. This is the Princess of Wales pub, which is one of those Nicholson pubs. And there's a Rudyard Kipling dining room in there as well. And just a bit further down, we've got a Kipling house. Just want to show you that Rudyard Kipling lived here for many years, the white building in front of us. Obviously, Rudyard Kipling, who wrote The Jungle Book and The Man Who Would Be King, amongst others, lived here 1889 to 91. and wrote the autobiographical novel The Light That Failed from this very building. And there's the other side, the entrance of Gordon's Wine Bar. And there we go. Go back up and look at that Princess of Wales pub. Interesting, if you talk about pubs in this area, this man, William Nicholson, who started this brewery here, he also built Lord's Cricket Ground and the pavilion at Lord's. But it's one of those pubs, because just behind us you've got Charing Cross Station, where people finishing work will have a quick pint before. But now we're at 7:30. The Arches, the Villiers Street Arches. So we're underneath Charing Cross Station. The word charing or charing means turning in the river. And at Charing Cross, the River Thames turns around. So if you ever go to Westminster Bridge, which I took a tour there the other day, Westminster Bridge doesn't go north to south because of the turning. It goes east to west. It's our first theatre, hidden theatre of London, the Charing Cross Theatre. Quite a small scale place. It's got a nice late bar in here. It's one of those places that if you are in a show, if you're lucky enough to be in one in the West End, you can come in here for a drink afterwards. If they know you're in a show, they'll let you in for a late drink. Yeah, this bar here, about 15 years ago, I had a little drink in here and saw a few friends, and they said someone great's playing on the piano tonight, and it was Jack Black, the big film star, was just playing on the piano. And I'll be honest, he was a bit. This used to be a club in the 1970s called the Global Village, and there was a man called Derek Frost had seen how popular the club Studio 54 was in New York and decided to build a super club here and called it Heaven. 1982, Richard Branson bought it, and what he said at the time, he said he knew the value of the pink pound. It became one of the first clubs in the country to play Chicago house music. It's been sold on twice over the years, though, so Branson doesn't own it anymore. We're going up to the Ship and Shovel, which are two pubs across the road from each other. Two pubs, the Ship on the left and the Shovel on the right. Now underneath us are cellars, and the cellars were bought by the two pubs in the 1990s. The owners of the two pubs decided that it would be a good selling point because they shared the cellar together to merge the pubs. So the pubs are now forever known as the Ship and Shovel. And, one of those hidden pubs of London. I don't want to shove the camera in people's faces, but people are enjoying a good old drink in there. Yeah. And the pub on the left-hand side is nice and quiet. But you can drink in there as well. Let's move on. Probably called the Ship and Shovel because of the coal labourers in this area would have shoveled the coal onto ships. So they had two names, the Ship and the Shovel.